Tariffs. You see that word in the news all the time, right? It's usually talked about like some big, simple weapon in a trade war. But the reality on the ground, well, that's a whole lot more complicated. It's really a story with two very different sides. A high-wire act with real people and real businesses on the line. So, let's get into it.
Okay, so what exactly are we talking about here? A tariff, in simple terms, is a tax. It's a tax the government puts on stuff that's brought into the country from somewhere else. The goal is pretty straightforward. Make the imported products more expensive so that the stuff made right here at home has a better shot at competing. It's meant to be a shield, but as we're going to see, one person's shield is another person's wall.
And this just perfectly captures the two sides of the coin. I mean, look at this. On one side, you've got an Alabama shrimper who feels like tariffs are finally giving him a fair shake. But on the other, a toy store owner in New York City says those exact same tariffs were the last straw that forced her to close down for good. Two different people, two totally opposite realities.
So let's start with the winners. Let's talk about the industries and the towns where these tariffs aren't seen as a problem, but as a lifeline they've been waiting for.
Let's head down to Bolabatry, Alabama. For guys like Dominic Ficarino, a local shrimper, things have been tough for a long, long time. They've been getting absolutely swamped by a flood of cheap farmed shrimp coming in from places like India and Ecuador. It got so bad that Ficarino actually had to tie up or sell half his boats. It just wasn't worth the money to even leave the dock. So you might be asking, well, what about the fact that tariffs can make shrimp more expensive for the rest of us? The shrimpers down there, they're pretty blunt about it. From their point of view, their entire way of life has been getting crushed for years. So for them, these tariffs are finally leveling a playing field that's been tilted against them for way too long.
And hey, this isn't just about shrimp. Let's jump over to Wheatland, Pennsylvania, right in the heart of steel country. Here, a 25% tariff on foreign steel isn't just helping a little bit. People are calling it a renaissance. We're talking about a major comeback, and a company called Wheatland Tube is right at the center of it. And check out this number, $800 million. That's how much Wheatland's parent company invested in building new plants and upgrading old ones after the steel tariffs kicked in. That kind of investment, that kind of confidence, led them to hire about 300 more American workers. And this is what that investment looks like for a real person. For Jonelle, a quality engineer there, this isn't just about a paycheck. It's about security. It's the confidence to actually buy a house and put down roots in the very same town she grew up in. For her, a tariff isn't some abstract policy. It's the foundation for her future. Okay, but for every story like Janelle's, there's another side. Now we have to look at the businesses and the workers who don't feel protected at all. They feel like they're just caught in the crossfire. You know, when you hear steel tariffs, you probably think about big things, right? Cars, skyscrapers, washing machines. You're probably not thinking about a baby spoon. But for Stephen Dunn, the CEO of the baby brand Munchkin, this one little spoon has become a symbol of a giant problem. So get this, the tariffs on this spoon are just brutal. It gets hit with a 50% steel tariff and a 30% tax on goods from China. You add that all up, the cost for Munchkin to make a single spoon skyrockets by 80%. Dunn calls it a tariff on parents. And for the first time in his company's 35-year history, he had to lay people off. And that feeling of fear, of not knowing what's next, you can find it in Merriam, Kansas, too. That's where Hendrik Svensson is liquidating his furniture store. A sofa that he used to sell for about $2,000 would now cost $2,500 because of tariffs. He knows his customers can't pay that, so he's closing up shop. And his 10 employees, like Henning, are now facing a really scary and uncertain future. And the pain is hitting businesses all over the place. We're talking about that New York toy store, gone after 44 years. A home textile supplier that had to let go of nearly a fifth of its workers. A fashion business in LA that saw its orders get cut in half. Even a brewery up in Buffalo that's losing a quarter of its Canadian customers. The ripple effects are just massive. So, what are you supposed to do if you're a business owner caught in the middle of all this? Well, it's not just a story of winning and losing. Smart businesses are finding ways to adapt and navigate through all this turbulence. So here are 4 key steps. Number 1, you have to audit your supply chain. You need to know where every single piece and part comes from. 2, rethink your pricing. Maybe you can't just eat the cost, so get creative with things like product bundles. 3, start looking for partners right here in the US. And 4, and this is a big one, You have to stay on top of the news. Trade policy can change overnight.
Which brings us to the bottom line. And when you're talking about tariffs, the one thing that's clear is that nothing is simple. It's a classic double-edged sword.
And this slide just says it all, doesn't it? On one hand, the government has collected an extra $108 billion in revenue from these tariffs. That is a lot of money. But on the other hand, just in 1 month, small businesses, the backbone of the economy, lost 13,000 jobs. It's a powerful picture of the trade-offs we're dealing with.
And this quote from the CEO of Munchkin just hits the nail on the head. The whole challenge is right here. You might be trying to protect a massive industry like steel, but policies can be a really blunt instrument, and you end up with these crazy, unintended consequences, like an 80% tax on a baby's first spoon. So we end up right back where we started, on that tightrope. This whole thing isn't about finding a good guy and a bad guy. It's about trying to understand a really, really delicate balancing act. And it leaves us all with a pretty tough question to think about. In this complicated world of trade, when one industry gets protected, who else pays the price?